Welcome to this week's Moving Through Menopause. And we are live, and I'm joined today by Nikki Chamberlain. Nikki is a health and wellness coach, and she's a mine of fantastic information. So welcome, Nikki.
Hi, Philippa. Wow, thanks very much for that introduction. And thanks very much for inviting me on today. I'm looking forward to having a chat with you.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's what we're doing. We're having a chat. And actually, we were having a chat when this topic arose, which is, are we all looking forward to life after lockdown? And, you might think the answer to that would be yes, unreservedly, yes, we are looking forward to it. And of course we are. But that's not to say that it is without its challenges.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we were all quite relieved, weren't we, when the government announced the roadmap, which gives us some kind of path back out of the pandemic to where we've come from. And to know that, people have been anticipating it for a long time and wondering what it was going to look like. But obviously, once we hear that, then brings with it for a lot of people the concerns about going back to normal life, or more normal life, or a new normal, or wherever we're going to end up. But it is kind of moving ourselves out of where we are now, and there's a lot of worries and challenges for people associated with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, for me personally, I definitely feel trepidation. And you know what? I'm not afraid about my health, particularly per se. It is more that I've spent an awful lot of time on my own at home without interacting with people. And that's kind of a skill, and you can lose the ability, if you're not careful, to string a conversation together. You know what? It's just also unfamiliar, I think, for me, is how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've been the same. So, I live alone here, and
Mm.
it's the way I've spent, much of the last 12 months. I have been able to get out and meet friends. But, even at the moment, with the way that life is, trying to keep in contact with people,
Mm.
whether it's by phone call or whether it's by message, text message, WhatsApp, what have you, it's getting really challenging because we're not really doing anything with our lives at the moment. And I do
Mm.
sometimes feel like I'm losing that ability to communicate in the way that I used to.
Yeah, because we've got nothing to say, really. I mean, we're chatting today, but that's because we're imparting information and knowledge, hopefully. But if it was about what did you do yesterday, then really it's the same that we've been doing for the last since Christmas at least. So there's not a whole lot of topic for conversation there.
No.
No. So, anxiety is something that definitely in menopause is something that is heightened for lots of people. And so this is just another source potentially of anxiety that what is it going to be like? How are we going to, I mean, to be honest, Nikki, you talk about the roadmap. I don't even actually know what the roadmap is. Because I think I might be avoiding even knowing what the roadmap is.
Yeah, I did do some checks actually. I did check up on it a little bit before we got on this call, just in case we needed to lay it out for people. But I think essentially we're looking at sort of towards the end of March, around the 29th of March, when things open up a little bit more.
Mm.
Um, in terms of being able to meet, I think, in groups of up to six, and out with one of the household outdoors. Um,
Oh,
the 12th of April is kind of more the date when things start to open up. That's when all the non-essential shops are able to open up again, the hairdressers and the beauty salons,
yeah.
and we're able to meet in larger groups outdoors. And then we've got the date in May where people can start to meet more indoors, and the hospitality, the restaurants and the bars are able to open up again. Or with it focusing towards the 21st of June at the moment, when, everything being equal, that's when, all the conditions will be lifted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think probably with each of those stages and the fact that people can do that a little bit more and come more and more into contact with larger groups of people, and perhaps people who are much more outside of their social circle and they've been around for a long time, and they can do more and they can go back to places they've not been for a while, then yeah, I think that post-lockdown anxiety is a real thing, and it's really going to start to affect people.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think oftentimes it's after the fact when things start to return back to normal. And I can speak with some experience to this topic because my son, when he was 1 year old, he had cancer. And yeah, you didn't know about this, I know. And so for about 10 months, we were in and out of hospital having chemotherapy and, one thing and another. Lots of hospital visits, and so you kind of on a treadmill of activity almost, and it's almost when that stops that's when the stuff starts to really hit the fan, and so maybe in the same way or a similar way that when we're in the coping phase, we cope. And then afterwards, we're expected to just suddenly be normal again, and that isn't necessarily what happens.
No, you're right there. I mean, you're certainly right about when we're in the coping phase. We see that played out across lots of different scenarios throughout life. And at the moment, all we're able to do is look ahead to what's coming, and we can have those concerns or worries in our mind about what's coming. But you're right, it's actually when we get there, when we get to these points, and that's when everybody's going to have this expectation then on their shoulders of, okay, so now I'm allowed to do this, I should do it, right? But I'm not sure whether I want to do it or not, and I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Yeah, well, exactly. So we're starting to talk about how do we deal with this situation. And I think you're quite right in, it's not an order. We're not compelled to go and do these things. It is merely that we will be able to. So I think that is, as you rightly say, the first thing to consider. And so in a way, that sort of just takes the pressure off a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's important to remember to take things at your own pace. Take things in small steps. It's not about having to go back out and suddenly do everything or return life exactly to normal or exactly to the way it was previously. It's about taking things at the pace that works for you, based on how you feel about things.
Yeah, I suppose that speaks to just getting in touch a little bit with how you are feeling and giving yourself permission to have those feelings in the first instance, because we can, feel like we've got to soldier on oblivious to all of this. But just to take a moment, I'm talking about mindfulness on Mondays, aren't I? Just to really delve into, well, how do I really feel about this? And give yourself permission to feel however it is that you feel, because that's absolutely allowed, to feel how you feel. And then just have that conversation with yourself. Well, so under those circumstances, what would you do if it was your friend? What would you say to your friend?
Yeah, do you know, that's such a great analogy, actually, that I mean, it's something that we should play out across everything in life. But yeah, it's a great way to think, actually. If every time you think about doing something that you're concerned about or wondering what you should do or wondering how you should make a decision, it's a really interesting scenario to say, if one of my friends came to me asking me this question, how would I advise them? What would I advise them to do? How would I support them? What level of support do I need? They think they would want. and think, maybe I'll reach out for some support. Yeah, and kind of not be afraid to share how you're feeling with those closest to you, with friends, with family. Share your concerns. Don't kind of keep it all in your own mind, in your own head.
Yeah, I mean that's when it starts to grow arms and legs, isn't it? If we don't let it out. So it is, we're trying to think about different ways in which we can help ourselves, help each other to make this transition through from being limited in our ability to move about and do our stuff to this place of normality, such as it is, and so that does bring worries, but also the potential for happiness, and joy. Hurrah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we have all got those mix of worries and joys, haven't we? So, I mean, everybody deep down is feeling a little bit like that. And the worries always seem to be kind of the big monsters. And they're the things that kind of take over. And sometimes it's too easy for us to think about our concerns or our worries and forget the joys and the things that will bring us happiness. So, another one of the strategies for sort of coping with this post-lockdown environment, I think, is thinking about the positive things that you're going to get out of it rather than the worries that you've got. So, it might be you've not seen a family member for a long time or one of your friends for a particularly long time, and think about what you'll get out of maybe arranging to meet up with them. Maybe that's one of the earliest things that you do. So thinking about the positives that you're going to get out of it and focusing on doing those and introducing those first, rather than focusing on, but I'm worried about going here, or I'm worried about doing this, or how will I cope with this? And focus more on the happiness.
Yeah. I think that's just our default, isn't it? To go to that place of, oh no, what shall I do? And so the first thing I'm hoping to do is see my parents that I haven't seen since last summer. And, they're away up in Lytham St Anne's. I can't wave to them because they don't do online technology. They don't have the internet. So, well, I did wave to them, but anyway. So, yeah, I'm hoping to get up there to Lytham St Anne's by the sea and go and have a visit with them. They've been very worried, actually, quite a lot of the time. And they were so happy when they had the vaccination. And my mom said, oh, it takes about 3 weeks for us to have the benefit of the immunity, And so I said, when will we be seeing each other? And she said, oh, well, it depends on what Boris has to say, which obviously, of course, is absolutely the right thing. So probably, when can we do that, do you think? Because I can't be outside at Lytham. I'm not camping, I'll tell you that. Do I have to wait till May?
Yeah, you should be able, either in April or in May sometime. Yeah, so there's still a while left to go yet.
But like you say, I'll put that at the forefront of and actually just thinking about that cheers you up, or cheered me up anyway. So it is incredible, the ability, the capacity for thoughts to influence our mood. And so when we have anxiety, we have negative thoughts, and those negative thoughts just spiral us into this state of increased anxiety. And so we can break that spiral by interjecting a little bit of positivity. So I absolutely love the idea that we think about something that we're really excited for or looking forward to, and plan as well, have a plan and then something to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, certainly having a plan. I mean, putting a list together of the things that you're really looking forward to doing, when you feel like you'd be comfortable doing each of those things, when you want to introduce them back into your life. And, referring back to what we spoke about earlier on, there's no pressure for those to be introduced back into your life on day one. You can introduce those back into your life at the point at which it works for you. But I think that, another key thing really is seeking out information. So, if there's things that are particularly concerning you, maybe they're on the list, and the things that you really want to do, and you really feel like you'd like to get them back into your life, but there are some concerns, or maybe the things that you've got to get back into your life. So, for example, returning to an office environment. Yeah, there's lots of people that will have been working from home, based from home, and at some point their business is going to say to them, right, you need to come back into the office environment. That's going to be a big worry for a lot of people, going back into that environment. And I think if, in those scenarios, if people can maybe contact their employer, contact work, find out what things are going to look like, how things are going to look when they get back, and share the concerns up front with their employer, rather than like day after day worrying about it until you walk through the front door on day one, with this mind full of worries that you've kind of built up over a number of weeks, knowing that it's been coming down the line. And then you walk through the door and, you just don't know what to expect. If you arm yourself up with it in front, contact your employer, ask how things are going to look, ask if they've made any changes, ask what to expect, share your concerns with them. It'll just help you alleviate some of the worries of that, at the same time as enabling you to deal with the worries of other things as well that might be going on.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Forewarned is forearmed. I do love my sayings, I must say. So yeah, definitely get information, whatever it is, get some information. If it's traveling, I know lots of people are just ready to push the button on book that particular holiday, or so yeah, get the information. Absolutely, really important. And you can see here that I am dressed for action, shall we say. And that's because I was teaching most of the morning and I'm teaching most of the rest of the afternoon. And I thought I might as well just stay in the old teaching outfit. And so, worries can definitely be ameliorated by movement. There's no shadow of a doubt that stress and anxiety are moderated by movement, particularly if it gets your heart rate up. And I know, Nikki, you're a ultra distance runner. I can't even say long distance. You're an ultra distance runner. And running is definitely one of those things that creates that chemical environment in the brain for often euphoria. I don't know how euphoric you feel at the end of an ultra. Maybe it takes a little while.
Yeah, at the end of an ultra, there's not a great deal I can think about other than usually the pain in my legs and yeah, where's the nearest chair that I can sit down on, that's for sure. And I will be nipping out for a run this afternoon after we've finished our conversation. So I do still have my run to do today. It won't be an ultra distance run. I think I've got 6 miles to do today, so it's quite a manageable distance really. But yeah, I mean, we're both very much advocates of movement and exercise and the value of that in terms of the impact it can have on your mental health as much as your physical health. I get so much from my running. It does help me get through some challenges. If I do have some challenges in my head, I can put my running shoes on, go out for a run, and try and use that time even just to either try and forget about them or to work through them, whichever on that particular day sort of works for me. It can work both ways really. But it's certainly something that can help alleviate anxieties and worries, and can also help put them in perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, moving and I did run for quite a number of years. Although Nikki said that she would think that running for half an hour was hardly worth putting to shame.
Did I say that?
Well, in a nice way, in a nice way. But yeah, so I absolutely think so much better when I'm on the move, and that does the same when I walk actually nowadays. So my brain, and it is a fact, and I can't remember which bit of biochemistry we're talking about, but it is, you know, really a great time to process when you are on the move, particularly walking outside in fresh air or running. Now, the thing I talk about with Pilates and yoga, of course, is that we are moving, but we're kind of getting out of our heads and a bit more into our bodies. So I think there's room for both of those approaches. You know, that you can have an opportunity to process stuff that you need to process, especially if you're walking or running, and then equally you have time when you can leave it away to the side, put it just, you know, to the side for a little while, and just really immerse yourself in how it feels to move, how good it feels to move. Every time I do it, I just come away feeling how good that was.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of walking over the last sort of 12 months, really. You know, it's been my way of connecting with other people.
Oh,
You know, whereas previously I would have met with friends for, you know, a coffee or a tea and a cake and a natter and, you know, that kind of thing. Or, you know, we'd maybe go out for dinner, or I'd go around to, you know, to their house or something like that. With not being able to do that, it's been my connection with people. And, you know, so I've spent a lot of time meeting up in a correct socially distanced way, as and when able, with, you know, people close by and that kind of thing. And just going out for a walk and a chat. And, you know, it's been my connection. It's been my opportunity to get support. It's been my opportunity to give support to my friends where, you know, they've had some concerns.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's something that's so easy to do, right? You know, you don't need any special equipment for it.
Mhm.
You don't need to go any distance for it. You can just put a pair of shoes on, a coat on if it's not great weather, outside, and, you know, really sort of it's just good for the. I always say that walking is good for the mind, the body, and the soul.
It really is. It really is. And if you're with a friend, then it's all to the even better, even more so. Yeah, the processing piece, walking alongside next to somebody as well, actually, is the best. What a fantastic way of tackling difficult topics as well. It's, you know, different to sitting face to face with somebody across a table. So if you've got a difficult topic that you want, or you know, just sharing the worries, because I do keep it in. I'm one of those. I tend to keep it in, and if it's ever going to come out, it will be when I'm walking along, chatting with the children or the husband. You know that this is when it somehow feels like the right time to have those difficult conversations, if indeed there are any to be had. So yeah, it's fantastic. And like you say, I've seen so many people, as we've always been doing the walking around the streets, around in the dark when it's, you know, winter time, and then in the open spaces in the summertime. And, you know, it's absolutely fabulous that we are seeing so many more people doing this. And I really do want this to be something that I said to a friend today, they've been meeting to go for a walk like yourself. And she said, I said, will you carry on doing this every Saturday? And she said, oh, well, I don't know, because, you know, then you get busy and life gets in the way. And I'm thinking, oh, no, that seems like such a shame that, you know, if returning to normality means that those habits that actually are so helpful begin to fall by the wayside, that would be a shame. So I am hoping that out of this adversity, if there is anything good to come from it, I think that is one thing that I've noticed anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, for everybody to keep in those newfound helpful habits that they've developed would be fantastic. And yeah, I guess it does go back, doesn't it, to to what we were talking about before in terms of not necessarily just rushing to throw everything back into life.
Mm,
I think from an anxiety perspective, um, I think probably what's helped me over the last 12 months is, not having that sense of obligation, to have to live life at 100 miles an hour and have to
mm,
go places and be places, because very often you can't do it.
mm.
I mean, it's been replaced by other worries and anxieties around sort of, loneliness and separation and isolation and,
Yes, yeah.
sort of the wider world and that kind of thing. But, it's definitely it's definitely helped with the anxiety around, you know, having to be places and the obligation for having to do things,
Mm.
that you don't have to do, and being able to replace them with things that worked for me.
Yeah, I think that's a thought, isn't it? That in our rush to return to normal, that we don't forget the things that we've begun to value from this time of contemplation for some. That we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater and just go back to how things were if how things were wasn't filling you with joy. And just take that time to contemplate. Is it working? And there's the 80-20 rule. Balance. What you do for the most of the time is what makes the difference. So on occasion, if you have to do something that maybe you'd rather not, or whatever, then that's not so bad. But it's when it's happening all the time, that's when it becomes problematic, isn't it? So yeah, we've got to keep it real, because life will try and take us over again. But to just remember, maybe write a list like you said, because I think if you put things down on paper, one way and another, whether it's a plan of action, whether it's journaling about your day, whatever it is, it just makes it that little bit more real.
Yeah, absolutely. It helps you cope, doesn't it? It helps you see where life is at, where things are at the moment.
Mm.
um you know and yeah.
And so I put that there at the bottom. You are not alone. We are not we're not unique, Nikki, much as we'd like to think we are. We're not. So there's lots of other people in this absolutely the same canoe, paddling for all the worth, with all of this. And so all we hope to do is to share a few tips to help smooth the way. But I think just knowing you're not on your own, talking with somebody about if you have got worries or anxieties, like you said, bring it up with your line manager, bring it up with a friend, bring it up with a family member, get it out of your head and process the things, and then get a plan of action. How can I, how am I going to go about this? We can kind of bury our head in the sand. I'm definitely guilty of doing that. There's an animal that does that. I've forgotten what it is now.
Ostrich.
But oh, there you go. I mean, that's the saying, isn't it? Don't be an ostrich. Yeah. So get your head out of the sand and start making lists. I love lists because with a menopausal memory, of course, you can't remember anything. So you have to write lists.
Yeah, well, I'm glad talking about you are not alone. I'm glad it's not just me that has to live their life off lists. I'm exactly the same. If it doesn't go onto a list, then it gets forgotten, which is frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm already starting to see clients reach out to me, for support around this. So that definitely shows to me that there are people that are starting to feel these concerns, and therefore you're not alone in feeling like that. That there are others, and if it is something that you feel that you can benefit and you would value support from, then there are people out there that can help.
Yeah, quite right. I said family, friends, and of course there are professionals that we can we can lean on, because there's nothing quite like an impartial ear, somebody who's not got their own agenda to fulfill, and not going to impart their own put their own spin on it. So we know how we can benefit from, and I definitely have in the past benefited from, impartial, even just someone who's a really good listener. That if you get paid to listen to somebody, then generally you're going to be quite good at it. So just getting someone to listen to you, it can be so freeing.
Yeah, it's the value of non-judgment, I think. So sometimes you can be concerned about raising it with people that you know or people close to you, for fear of them having some sort of sense of judgment. But you can raise it with people who professionals, people that don't know you, and there's definitely that sense of non-judgment there. They'll listen to your concerns, they'll support you, and guide you, and give you the right kind of advice.
Yeah. That's perfect. Well, thank you. I think unless you've got anything else that you had on your mind to say, I think we've covered enough.
Yeah, no, I think we've covered a lot there. Hopefully, we've put some people's minds at rest and given them some strategies that they can cope with. I'm battling real life at the moment, because my laptop battery is showing a low, and I'm not plugged in. So I'm sitting here at the moment, and the biggest anxiety I've got on my mind is thinking, am I just going to disappear off this screen any minute? Because I don't want to start scrabbling around looking for the plug. So,
Nikki, well, on that note, I mean, it's good to know. It's so good to know that we are only human. Like I said, with real life, it's happening. We are but real people living real lives like everybody else, and I think that being human is only a good thing. So thank you so much for your time today, Nikki. I'll let you go and find your charger.
yes.
Have a fabulous run this afternoon. Think of me while you're out there running, will you?
I will do, definitely. And hopefully we can do this again soon. It's been great to chat with you.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's loads of other things we can talk about.
Absolutely. I can't wait. Take care now.
Speak to you soon.
Bye now.
Bye.